Hi, welcome to our podcast, and today's topic is?
Our topic is animation and stop motion.
Awesome, so we'll get right into it. So, I think for the first part, I think we should talk about the techniques used in stop motion animation, because there are a lot of, there are a variety of different techniques that they do use, and things that they take inspiration from. So, persistence of vision. So, this works because the human eye can only process up to 10 to 12 frames per second naturally. So I think animators base what they create off that, because if they do anything higher than that, it becomes much more smooth.
Yeah.
And when it becomes too smooth, like, they're at risk of then sort of like going into the uncanny valley.
Which is like, so when they're like, so what's that? Sophia the robot.
Yeah, in Humans on Channel 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it almost becomes too human, and when it becomes too human, we sort of start to reject that piece.
But because it's too human, but it's unnatural stop motion animation.
Yeah.
It just becomes like kind of like we reject that because that's how we are.
Yeah, it's almost, if it becomes too real, if something clearly not human becomes too real, we start to form almost a prejudice towards it, because we don't like it and it's not natural.
Mm-hmm.
So like understanding persistence of vision helps animators create smooth projects like Wallace and Gromit and things like that. That's shot in 24 frames per second, and it's just enough frames to create the sense of motion. So for example, like a moving image, usually the lowest they would go to is 12 frames per second. This is just that's just like the limit of the persistence of vision. So
Yeah, so like the next technique they use is like obviously like frame rates.
Mm-hmm.
So like the term frame rate actually refers to the number of individual frames or images that are displayed per second in a film. So like TV and computer games, that's like TV and computer games like display as well.
Mm-hmm.
So like the frames per second. So like we're going like Uncanny Valley. So like when computer games are way too real, and it's like it looks creepy that it looks that real,
because that's what we want, isn't it? From animation and stuff, people are like,
it's animated, so it's like Night Before Christmas. People want to think like, oh my god, that's incredible, like it's not human,
but that's because it's clearly animated.
It's
you can see that,
isn't it?
But in games, when people complain about games, it's always the CGI's off.
The graphics aren't.
But within theory, in reality, people really don't want the graphics to be
because then it'd be the Uncanny Valley, and they're
exactly.
like venturing into something that's not like what they actually want.
And I think that's why games hold it off a little bit.
Yeah. So frame rates are used for film and TV, and are standardised by the Society of Motion Picture and Television Editors, and this has been since 1927.
Right.
The standard frame rate for a film is 24 frames per second.
So that's like Wallace and Gromit, like we were just talking about. And that, I think, why a reason that was so well received was because it's clearly animated, not just because they're just plasticine dolls, because
it's
of the way
animated,
it's
and
animated.
It makes such a great narrative.
Yeah.
And people enjoy it, like how clever like Wallace and Gromit actually move.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was that thing recently, wasn't there, with The Hobbit? They shot it in, I can't remember how many frames it was now, but they shot it in a certain amount of frames. So people started to reject that piece because it looked too real.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, I mean, obviously the Hobbit series didn't fail at all. It went beyond what people thought it would. But it was too smooth. And people don't like it. And that's just because that's not what we've known. Like, as we've grown up, we viewed things in, the way we view things, and as soon as we view something too smooth, it becomes strange, and it really makes you feel quite weird.
Uncomfortable.
Really uncomfortable. Yeah. But that is the Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
It's too real. And it does make you feel uncomfortable. There's something unnerving about it.
Yeah. So continue around this.
Stop frame.
Yeah.
So stop frame is just basically stop motion animation.
Yeah.
So this could be like I said, Wallace and Gromit. People would argue that Flushed Away Have you seen that?
Flushed Away is animated.
It is, but it's not stop motion animated.
No.
Now this could be.
It's CGI.
It's
animated.
CGI, yeah, and people like make this mistake. I've seen this mistake being made a lot, but this could be part of like the progression of animation because clearly the characters are inspired by Wallace and Gromit. And
yeah, well, I think it's the same creators, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So, but as you can see, the creators have sort of decided to go in a different direction in the way they film it. You know,
which is quite like. It's a new thing, obviously, but it's not new. It's like CGI, but it just takes the creativity away. I know it's very creative to do CGI, and I know that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
But the way that like Wallace and Gromit is shot is so much more like enticing.
Yeah,
to me anyway, because they've sat there for hours and they've built these sculptures, and then they've frame by frame they have moved them little tiny, like millisecond centimeters to try and get that to look so real for our viewing.
And like us as like media creators and producers and things, it makes us really appreciate it. Don't get me wrong, you know, CGI, like you said, it does take a lot of work, grueling hours, but animation just does as well, you know. And the work put into that, like you said, it's almost taking that sort of magic away. Because I've seen kids watching Wallace and Gromit and they love it. They find it so mesmerising.
Especially the generation of children now, when they get older, and when they're our age, in like 10, 20 years, they're going to be like, plasticine.
Exactly.
What's that? You know, like Toys R Us has been shut down soon, and I'm pretty sure that most of the like toy shops are going to be shut down.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're not going to really like, it's going to be very foreign for them to see a film that is shot like Wallace and Gromit, compare it to Flushed Away, and say that's how all films are shot, like Flushed Away now. So they're going to be like, oh, well, it's all CGI, everything's CGI. And it just takes the magic away. It makes me feel sad.
It really does.
It makes me like reminisce on my childhood and like, you know, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, that's the question really. Is animation, stop motion animation, dying?
I think it might.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. I really hope not. But I think it might, just because of how fast we're moving as a generation and how animators are moving. It's quicker to do it on CGI.
Oh, well, God, yeah. And CGI...
It's quicker and it's less... It's probably not less work, but it's probably
But CGI is today's form of going beyond the boundaries of what you can film on screen. And stop motion animation was the very thing that allowed creators to go beyond what they could film on screen.
Like Jason and the Argonauts.
Yes.
So they use like models for like the like Greek mythical creatures.
Yeah.
Because obviously CGI wasn't like a massive thing then. So they had these models next to actual humans, and the way they move is like...
Yeah, it's very jumpy, isn't it? But you see, we didn't reject that.
No.
Because we clearly saw...
Yeah, we clearly saw that as like...
But
fake.
it still had that effect on us.
Yeah.
Like Clash of the Titans, if you guys have watched it, they did exactly the same thing. They blended real life film, if you like, with animation, stop motion animation. Like Medusa, she was a stop motion animation character.
The way her hair move was absolutely like
crazy. But it was brilliant. And now looking back at it, because obviously, like I said, we're media creators and content creators, we appreciate that so much more.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could do that, you know, the fact that they could make a character that they could never do in real life in that way and still make it look, you know, at the time, moderately real.
And as we see incredible. Like CGI now, you know, like if they redid that now and they redid like Medusa and her hair and the way she moved, then it'd just be CGI and we'd just be like, how is that real?
Well, they did, didn't they? They redid it and everything was CGI.
Yeah.
No animation at all, because CGI is this generation of reaching boundaries that they couldn't, you know. And that's just the way it's going. And
which is sad.
It is sad, I know. Yeah, it really is.
I suppose, like, it's what audiences want.
But they
will miss it.
CGI is much more appealing because it looks real. But because it looks real, some people reject it. because it looks too
Back
real.
to the uncanny valley.
Back to the
we
uncanny
are
valley.
loving the uncanny valley.
We really are. It's just such an interesting thing.
Go there.
If only it was a place. Yeah.
Holiday, please.
Yeah. But it's just such an interesting thing to talk about, to discuss. Maybe that is why people are holding off on what they're creating. Holding off their potential of what they could create. Because they fear that it will be rejected. That could be a reason why.
Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to part 2.
Yes,
which
developments.
is developments.
So, would you like to begin?
Yeah. So talk about William Horner.
The zoetrope.
The zoetrope.
Cool.
Right. So a zoetrope is a cylindrical optical toy, which houses several pictures on the inside of the cylinder. Each of the pictures inside the zoetrope acts as an individual frame of a moving image.
Right.
So you could have like a little horse, and then like a merry-go-round stick, and then you could have the little horse, then the merry-go-round stick sat next to each other in the cylinder, and then there's a little slit that you see through. So you like put your eye to it, spin it round, and because of the optical illusion, it looks like the little stick and the horse are stuck together.
Ah, right. Okay, that's interesting. So,
it is. We'll flash something up on screen.
Yeah. So would that? I'm assuming that would have been considered almost a form of entertainment.
Well, I think it was actually considered like magic.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Like insane. Have you ever seen The Conjuring? The Conjuring 2?
I have.
Have you seen, what's that,
It's
the long...
the tent scene, right?
Yes.
There's a little one in the tent.
Yeah. There's a little one in the tent.
And isn't there like a man?
What's he called?
Ooh.
Oh, the Crooked Man.
The Crooked Man, that's
the Crooked
it.
Man.
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, there's like a little zoetrope in there, and the Crooked Man is the little animation, and it spins round, and then all of a sudden, the Crooked Man comes out of the zoetrope.
Yeah. That's
Creepy.
brilliant.
It's creepy, but it's
Yeah,
good,
it's
and I like
really good, yeah.
I like how they do pay homage to it, and then
yes.
it's cool.
Oh, that's really interesting. So that's like today's society paying homage to how they used to do things. That's so cool.
And I think as well, like, because it's based on the Enfield haunting, that was in like, I think it was the 70s,
Right.
maybe the 60s.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, they used to, because obviously they didn't have like major telly or like animation and stuff. So that was like a nice form of animation, and then James Wan was playing homage to that form of animation, and then putting his own animation into it of
That's
CGI.
brilliant.
Yeah,
But it's almost like people. That's almost like something to say that like people now look back at that device and think, "Ooh, it's kind of creepy now."
It is
You know,
it's something that you'd find like in your nan's attic.
It really
You'd
is,
be like,
because you don't know
what is
what's going to be
this?
through that little slit, do you?
No.
Do you? So it's
No.
like, ooh.
But back then they were like, oh my god, a zoetrope.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, once the zoetrope begins spinning, a person who is looking through these slits will see a moving image create a combination of individual pictures moving to create one picture.
That's really cool. I like
It's
that.
really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I've never seen one,
No, neither have
but
I.
I think it'd be cool. Also, they have like little individual slits going round it. So when you spin it, the slits become one because the way that our eyes see things and the way that it moves and so quickly it moves.
It's like back to persistence of vision.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over to Joseph Plateau, I think. So he created the phenakistoscope.
Phenakistoscope.
Right, okay, so from the research that I've gathered, and it's really interesting, this one, I think it's really cool, and I'm not sure if they're still around, but you probably get them in like some antique shop or something. So the phenakistoscope is a Victorian toy which is widely considered to be among the and people do consider this to be the thing that sort of propelled animation into what it is today, because it was, like I said, one of the earliest forms of it. So the device was operated by spinning the cardboard disc and viewing the reflection of the image in a mirror through a series of moving slits. So similar to the zoetrope.
Right.
But what you'd do, it would be a big disc, and you'd have a sort of a wooden handle or something. You'd have a light behind you.
Yes.
So you'd shine the light behind you, and you'd spin the disc,
Yeah.
and then it would reflect onto the wall or whatever surface you're reflecting it to. The
that's
moving
so
image.
Sweet.
It's really cool. Yeah.
So
It was really interesting.
Right.
And yeah, when I was researching it, there's a lot of really cool videos of people who have still got them. And yeah, it was just, it was really the thing that I think inspired what animators, aspire to do today.
Yeah.
And like the Zoetrope, it was another form of entertainment, which it was almost like a children's toy.
It's like a children's toy, yeah.
Exactly. So, instead of having like
a Tamagotchi.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, instead of having an iPad and watching whatever, you can watch like a little cool animation. And I think back in those days, it was considered, a toy before they went to sleep.
Yeah.
Because it would calm them. So how you have those toys in the baby cot that sort of go around, almost like a spinning disc.
Like them night lights that now like shine things on the roof, so like little stars. That's so sweet.
Exactly. So I think what parents would do, from the research that I've got, parents would put a light near it, spin it. Obviously, it would stop spinning after a while. They'd spin it, and then they'd leave the room, and they'd let their kids. It'd be calming for their kids to go to sleep to. So, like I said, those toys in in the cots, you can get the toys like above the cots to make the kids go to sleep. Yeah, cute. And almost like a spinning disc. They go around in like a spinning disc, and I think that's, it hasn't just inspired animation, it's also inspired other things as well. In terms of like, comfort for kids and
calming
things.
And
yeah.
stuff like that, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you could say like animation is like some kind of like calming though, couldn't you? Like
it really
actual
is.
films, like entertainment is calming.
Oh yeah.
Unless you go and see A Quiet Place.
yes.
Which is terrifying.
It really is.
But yeah, like films, TV, radio.
Yeah.
All types of media broadcasting is calming. It's supposed to, and like, I find comfort in going home and watching MTV, some of the rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. It's like
to me, I love going to sleep watching like How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Even if I've watched it a million times, I'll still put it on. And I know it's not animation, but you find calm, like a sense of calm from all sorts of like visual entertainment. So how did you say it?
Phanankyscope.
Phanankyscope.
Yeah, Phanankyscope, I think.
Can't say it. So that is probably a form of a push towards all entertainment.
Oh God, yeah, 100%. It's that saying, isn't it? You've got to start somewhere, and I think that is where entertainment did start. Really, obviously we had like
from toys and
obviously we had like back in the day. Well, we didn't because
theatre.
Yeah, obviously you had theatre, and way back you had freak shows and things like that.
Yeah,
but it's almost like like a phone in a way, like watching something on your phone. Project that image onto the wall. It could be what inspired projectors as well, Cinemas. Well, projecting a moving image onto a surface. That's just what cinemas do.
It probably inspired some form of like cameras too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think
like
so.
Like a mirror.
That's really interesting point actually, because
aren't cameras, so they project so you film something onto the mirror, and the mirror projects it into. I don't know how cameras work. I'm not a big camera geek.
No, same. I'm not too sure. Yes. Ask Sam.
But I might. Might have
it could. Yeah, it could have been. Half of the stuff that we've got today, we have no idea what inspired its creation. But I think that device was really something that.
We just go off our own initiative and like intuition.
Oh yeah.
I truly think that things like this, like the Zoetrope and that thing, they do inspire. Everything inspires everything.
Yeah, it really does.
So someone is inspired by something. You know what I mean?
You were just talking about cameras.
Yeah.
You were just talking about cameras, and I found a really interesting fact actually. So using a DSLR to film stop motion animation. So in 2005, The Corpse Bride was shot with a Canon EOS 1D Mark II, which was the first motion picture film to be captured with a digital camera. So the first animation to be captured with a digital camera, which I thought was really cool because us as students, we're going to be doing like an animation unit, and we're going to have to film it with a DSLR. So I thought that was really sort of inspiring. The fact that someone else has done it, we can take inspiration from that.
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was really a really interesting point, to be honest, and one that's really good to raise for people as well if they want to create their own animations, because it's a common camera, you know, DSLR, Canon. It's a common camera among young people. So it's comforting to know that, you know, you can do it.
Yeah. Speaking really cool. Of cameras.
Yes.
The Lumiere brothers.
Pioneers. Yes. So in 1895, yes, the Lumiere brothers had invented the cinematograph, which was a device used to shoot and project moving image onto any surface. So just like the Fernanke scope. Yeah. I think that's really interesting.
There's so much inspiration in things.
I know.
Wow.
I know. No, but it's so true though. I mean, they're the people. They're the brothers that took that idea
and turned it into something massive.
Exactly. And it's great. It's really great. You know, without those, we wouldn't have like cinema today.
No.
Definitely not. 100% not.
God bless you.
I know. God bless you, Lumiere brothers.
So the Lumiere brothers premiered their first film screening in a basement of a cafe in Paris. Paris.
Oh, because they filmed like long shots of just random things.
Yeah,
didn't they?
just
like,
to prove that they could do it. I think they were just like, let's prove we can do this. We've got this machine. We've invented it. We've done amazing. How can we put it into
and people thought that was amazing. People like went to go see just a man doing his gardening.
Yeah, and they loved it because it was like, even though they could literally walk out their front door and go see this, because it was like taken from that spot.
Yes.
They didn't even have to move.
No.
And the brothers did it for them.
But I think that's why also it sort of was going downhill for them, because people finally realised that I could open my door, look out the window and see a man doing his gardening. And that's when they had to sort of develop more.
So the cinematograph, I can't even say that. Cinematograph.
Yes.
Used rolls of films, which captured images one after another. It then projected light onto the developed film, which cast an image onto a screen. When the roll moved across the screen, it displayed a moving image. So, like the Zoetrope, it took an image and moved it so quickly that it would be like an optical illusion.
Yeah, like
of
like
just
a roll of
spinning
film.
round and round and round and round.
Become like such a huge thing, like in terms of what it's inspired, you know, and animation has not just inspired more animation, it's inspired moving image, because that was the only way back in the day you could achieve a moving image, you know. And no, it's really
incredible.
interesting.
It's incredible.
It really is, honestly. So we're gonna move on to
like today's contemporary animation,
contemporary cinema and things like that. So do you want to start off?
Yeah, so contemporary TV animation. So have you ever heard of Aardman Animations?
I have, yeah. So that's like Flushed Away, Wallace and Gromit. Are they Shaun the Sheep as well? I think
they are Shaun the Sheep.
Brilliant. Have you seen it?
So in 1972, Peter Lord and David Sproxton registered the name Aardman Animations, but only released their first production 4 years later.
My goodness.
In 1976, which was a television programme creating Morph. Do you know Morph?
I don't know.
Did you ever see like Art Attack?
Yes.
You know the little orange little plasticine man?
No.
That's Morph.
Wow, the more you know.
The more you know.
Did you mention Chicken Run?
Yeah, so Chicken Run.
Oh my god.
It's done by Aardman Productions.
That is brilliant. That was revolutionary.
Aardman Animations. That's like the pie and.
That was brilliant. Have you seen that? That is brilliant. That was one of my favourite films.
So like they produced Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep. And these are just like some of the shows that they made, which were incredible.
Yeah,
so good. They were my childhood, like especially Chicken Run. I remember my dad used to have it on VHS.
Oh god, yeah.
My dad had it on video, and he used to watch it over and over again.
Brilliant.
Hated winding them tapes.
Oh
you
god.
had to put a pencil in.
Don't.
Oh no, it was actual like cassette tapes you had to put a pencil in.
Yeah.
I always prove my age sometimes. I think I'm only 20.
Yeah, but like when I look at a videotape, I'm like, ugh, My God, I'm so old. And then I'm like, I'm 19.
I just imagine winding it. Just look at it. I've got loads of videos at home actually, but no VHS player.
Right.
I've got tapes too.
Yeah. So what's your like sort of favourite contemporary TV animation? What do you think has sort of inspired like films today from that? I mean, I know it's contemporary, so I know it is today, but what do you think has inspired something like Shaun the Sheep? You know, like more kid stuff, you know?
I think like plasticine animation, like Shaun the Sheep and Chicken Run, they've just inspired like Flushed Away.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like Boss Baby and like stuff that would have been done in plasticine but is now done in CGI. So it's like modelled after plasticine, made to look like plasticine, but it's actually CGI.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Flushed Away characters, they are identical to Wallace and Gromit. But you know what I mean?
No, I completely understand what you mean, yeah. It's really interesting because there's a film, you know, moving on to contemporary cinema, there's a film Coco. Is it Coco? No, what's that film? It's Coco and the Magic Strings, is it, or something?
Oh, is that the little one? It's like the little Mexican kid.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's called... I think Coco's a different film. But, But...
And it's based on the Day of the Dead, which is a festival in Mexico.
Yes.
And they celebrate...
And it's...
with colours and
beautiful.
And absolutely stunning festival.
It's beautiful.
I've never seen Coco,
No.
but I know a lot about it.
Yeah. And they what they've done with like animation is really cool, but Coco is inspired by stop motion animation. It's not actually stop motion animated, which is really interesting.
A new film that's come out, which is Isle of Dogs.
Yes.
Which I'm dying to see.
Yes.
Dying to see because I do love Wes Anderson, especially in Fantastic Mr. Fox.
That film is.
I remember I first saw it when it first came out. When did it come out? Like, must have been like early 10s, early 2010s.
I think it was, yeah.
I went to see it in the cinema and I was absolutely terrified because I was like, because I do have a thing with animation where it does make my skin crawl.
Right. Okay. It was 9 years ago, I think. It came out. I'm
so what's that, like 2009?
2009. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would 9 years? I was 11. Yeah, I remember going to see it with my mum and brother and sister.
Yeah.
And it was like revolutionary for me. I loved it.
And the fact that all of that has come from those sort of what would be considered now to be medieval devices.
Yes.
You know, is amazing, really. So another one that, you know, another film, especially in contemporary cinema, would be Kubo and the Two Strings. Have you seen that?
Yes. Is that the one where it's like heavily mixed between like different kinds of animation?
Yeah, it's like 3D printing and stop motion animation. It's really good. It's fantastic. It's really smooth, surprisingly, as well. But it's not smooth. It's not smooth enough that it travels into the uncanny valley.
Uncanny valley.
Back to that. But it's not. People haven't rejected it. I think it was given like a 7.8 on IMDb, which is great. You know, for especially for a stop motion animation film, I think.
Well, they must use like for the actual like characters. I'm guessing they use like CGI and like grounds and stuff.
There's a sea scene where there's a huge wave.
Yeah.
That was CGI. They used CGI for that. They didn't use CGI for like the characters and the locations and things like that. And it's filmed beautifully as well.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm guessing like they use like like them wire skeletons. I know Night Before Christmas and Corpse Bride, they use like wire skeletons.
Right. Yeah.
So they can move the models a lot easier.
Yeah.
And then 3D printing as well, so they're not like redoing so many different facial like expressions.
Yeah.
Which God, it's all cool, isn't it?
It is. It's really interesting.
I love it.
Back to like Kubo though, it's like it's very interesting how they've done it because it almost doesn't look like stop motion animation because it's been blended with CGI, and green screen and things like that. It almost doesn't look like stop motion animation, but you can still tell with the characters that it is. It's like traveling back in time to, like I was saying about Clash of the Titans.
Yes.
About like Medusa, and she's being put alongside a live action character.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like that in a way. It's almost as if like now they're sort of using CGI as a filler in a way. You know, the people who, I think this was directed by Travis Knight, who's sort of a revolutionary director. Travis Knight directed this, and I think, like I said, they sort of use CGI as almost like a little bit of a filler now to make it look a bit more real than they could with stop motion animation. And I think that's just, you know, that's just a great way of looking at how stop motion animation has come along with CGI. You know, I think now producers feel as if they need to have CGI in there.
Yeah.
To make it appealing.
To get an audience.
Exactly, and don't get me wrong, it's beautiful.
But there'd be a huge audience. There is like a new gap in the market. It never used to be a gap, but it is now.
It is.
Which is why everyone's loving this Isle of Dogs.
It's wonderful.
And like, which is why Fantastic Mr. Fox was taken so well, because Wes Anderson was stunning. They're gorgeous. Like the creepiest, most gorgeous things ever. Got a little flyaway.
Yeah.
And that he's hitting that gap. And he's making
so.
that like the new It again.
Yeah.
Because CGI is just so overused. What is the point in using it so much? Using it to make babies. And
you know.
And you know, like stupid things like that. Where, like, have you ever seen Twilight?
Vampire film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the last film?
No.
So in the last film, they actually CGI'd the baby to make the baby look more pretty. And that is going into the uncanny valley.
Oh my goodness.
That isn't a real baby.
Oh my goodness. That is not good.
No, it's
That
not.
is not good.
That is heading into the uncanny valley.
What?
Yep.
No. That is. Back to the uncanny valley again.
The baby was not a real baby. It was animation.
So this is a good point where we can move into sort of like the disadvantages and advantages of it, so we can sort of compare and contrast, right? So in terms of how they used to do it, it was very clear that it was animation, right?
And that is an advantage. That's like,
it
and
is.
it's so appealing and it's so pretty.
It really is, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper than CGI.
It takes a lot less time
Yeah.
to do CGI.
Yeah,
An
it does.
advantage, but it doesn't have the same effect. Especially if you're going to CGI a baby.
Yeah.
Like, why not just have an actual baby?
Yeah, exactly. Cast a baby, but you know, that was the advantage of stop motion animation, I think, and it's still the advantage.
Yeah,
now.
you're not going into the uncanny valley. You are like Corpse Bride, like Victor, the main character in that, he doesn't look like a human.
Yeah.
Hence, which is why it's so appealing and so aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it really is. And now that we've come, so far, I think it's watching a film like that now. It's very nostalgic.
Yeah, it makes you think of Chicken Run.
It does. It makes you think of Chicken Run, Shaun the Sheep.
Yeah.
And a good advantage of things like that would be, I think, you can go with animation. You can go beyond.
Yeah.
Anything.
But sometimes it's just way, not with animation, not with stop motion, but with CGI.
Yeah.
They go way too far. They use it way too
do.
often. It's no longer like, wow, that's amazing. It's more like, oh, do you have to use CGI?
It's
Do
so
you
apparent.
Need that? And that's just a massive disadvantage. It's an advantage of it looks good, but it's so like tired and it's so like.
It makes you think they're trying too hard.
Trying way too. There's a massive budget in that. Like, why not like?
Exactly.
Like animation, it's cheap. You just have to buy plastic.
And you know it's animation.
Yeah, I know you've got like the 3D printers, which are expensive, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's real. At least it looks nice.
Exactly, and you know it's not supposed to look all the way there because it is animation.
Because then we'd go into the uncanny valley if it was if you go into CGI, like what did they do recently? I think it was like Jurassic World or something. And the CGI of the dinosaurs just like just doesn't look right.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There is something ever so slightly off.
Whereas in the old times, it looks
It's
great.
like, oh my god!
A great one. Speaking of that, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, the walkers, the AT-AT walkers were. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but they were animated, and it still looks amazing today. It looks real. It really does.
Yeah.
You know the walkers? They sort of look like big turtles with long legs. They look amazing.
Yeah.
They look amazing today. And this was a film that came out in the 70s, I believe, or the 80s. And it's amazing. I mean, The Last Jedi's just come out and they've brought the walkers back, and they do look real. But I'd still think
I saw raw.
There are so many like advantages and disadvantages, and I think we've covered like a fair few of them.
I think time as well. Time is a big one.
Yeah, like
that's what people are scared of, I think.
Yeah, like going back to like Chicken Run. When I was like 6, I was watching that. And that's 14 years.
Yeah.
So the way that we've moved from pure animation, like stop motion, to now CGI and everything.
Yeah.
It's so tiresome.
It really is. But then you get, like I said, a film like Kubo, which
combines
blends
everything,
it, and it's beautiful.
It looks gorgeous. So
because they're not using too much of a certain thing.
Yeah.
That's what it is, I think. I think a disadvantage with animation is it can at times become boring.
Yeah.
And so can CGI.
Yes.
It's on both sides, you know. If you can compare them, they both can become a bit tiresome at times, right? But a film like Kubo and The Two Strings combines it